Feminists have long taught us that women can have it all. Not only are they the stronger sex, they can have everything they want all the time and suffer no consequences. How is it then that when a feminist champion raises her daughter with all the right propaganda, the daughter chooses to use her freedom to play right into the hands of the patriarchy? Or then again, does she? Isn't feminism all about women utilizing their freedom to do what they want? Stay tuned to see how a mother and a daughter's fight over an Instagram post absolutely destroys the feminist narrative. Hello everyone, this is My Two Cents. This article was posted by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation on December 20th, 2019, and when I read it, I could not stop laughing. The article is written from two different perspectives. The perspective of a hardcore feminist mother, and the perspective of her teenage daughter, whom the mother bragged about having raised as a feminist from the cradle. The two of them had a fight about the daughter posting a picture of herself in a bikini on Instagram, and the respective narratives they give show just how broken and contradictory feminism is as an ideology. Let's take a look. To some, feminist is a label that every empowered woman and progressive man should wear proudly. It is not controversial. It stands for the idea that every woman is a complete human being. Women are not less than men. Women deserve equal pay, equal say, and equal rights in society. No. That might be how feminists want to portray it, but get deeper into their rhetoric and you'll realize immediately that feminism is not just about women being treated fairly as individuals. Feminism is a form of Marxism that teaches that women are oppressed by men and therefore all female problems are the result of male oppression. According to feminism, if a woman isn't happy, it must be because she's somehow being oppressed by her patriarchal overlords, and the solution is to use the force of government to correct her problems, however she might perceive them. And what makes this all the more ridiculous is that, as we'll see in this article, feminism isn't just about women getting what they want. It's about guaranteeing that they feel good after the fact, and guaranteeing that everyone else in their lives goes along with it. To others, feminist is a problematic term because of the biases and expectations that accompany it. No, feminist is a problematic term because feminism, being a form of Marxism, necessarily involves using force to make other people live according to the feminist vision. If all that feminists wanted was for women and men to have the same right to pursue their own needs and desires with their own time and resources, then I would not have a problem with that. But that's not what feminism is. That's just respecting individual rights. Feminism involves categorically rejecting that women have any responsibility for their own actions and advocating that government use force to fix all their problems, regardless of how petty or insignificant. Within the world of women, a feminist can be rejected as such for not following certain rules, or can find herself scrutinized for failing the movement, because a feminist is expected to look a certain way, speak a certain way, and live a certain way. And that shows just how contradictory feminism ends up being. On one hand, feminists say that women should be free to live and act however they please. That's just female liberation. However, in the very next breath, they turn around and condemn any woman whose behavior reinforces the patriarchy, even if that woman was doing exactly what she wanted to do and what she was doing made her happy. So which is it? As we'll see, there is no answer. In practice, feminism always implodes because it is built on the impossible premise that women can have everything they want all the time, be happy all the time, and have everyone else be happy for them all the time. This just isn't how reality works. Here are two conflicting views of what feminism means today, as told in this point-counterpoint by one Montreal mother and her teenage daughter. The mother gives her narrative first. Last summer, I stumbled onto my teenage daughter's social media account. What I found confirmed my worst fear. I had failed to raise a feminist. Oh no, how awful! There, among the pouty-faced selfies, was a photo of her posing Sports Illustrated style on a jet ski in her bikini, brandishing her middle finger at the camera with a smirk on her face. My heart sank. Wow, so your daughter was posing sexy in a bikini. I mean, that's utterly horrifying. But then, isn't feminism all about female empowerment? And if looking sexy makes her feel good about herself, why would you, as a hardcore feminist, object? Who is this person, I ask myself? All her life, I've tried to model feminism, taking her on marches for women's rights, reading to her from books like I'm not even going to try to pronounce that one. We Should All Be Feminists, and surrounding her with a community of strong, independent female friends. I realize now that the wisdom of my mother's women's lib generation doesn't cover the challenges of raising a feminist daughter in the 21st century. Now, do you recognize the unfalsifiable assertion being made here? You would think that if the feminist view of the world is accurate, or at least if this woman's view of the world is accurate, then completely indoctrinating her daughter in feminist rhetoric from birth would have resulted in her daughter adopting the same view. But still, her daughter wants to garner male attention by looking sexy, something totally anathema to this hardcore feminist mother. But instead of concluding that the feminist view might be wrong, and maybe there is something intrinsic about male and female attraction and traditional gender roles, this woman instead concludes that this is the challenge of the 21st century. In other words, it's the patriarchy still oppressing us even into the 21st century. And no matter what happens, she'll always conclude that the reason she didn't get her desired outcome is because of the patriarchy's oppression. It's not because her view is wrong, because her view can't be wrong. Her view is fundamentally unfalsifiable. Every possible outcome of her actions will confirm her belief, and it's therefore meaningless. Indeed, most young women seem so put off by the identity politics that come with calling themselves feminists that they're rejecting the label altogether. Or maybe it's that more and more young women are seeing how crazy and miserable radical feminists are. But I know you'd never conclude that because your view is unfalsifiable. What's the big deal? Clara asked me when I confronted her about the offending photo. It's just a picture. Where do I start? Well, to be honest, as a mother, she could have used this opportunity to teach her daughter about making responsible decisions when it comes to men and relationships, but instead she's going to go with this wacky narrative. As I write this, 14 beacons of light are shining in the sky over Montreal, in memory of the women killed in the Polytechnic shooting. They are stark reminders that our daughters are still vulnerable to violent men who will do whatever it takes to keep women silent and subservient. Feminism seeks to create a new world where that isn't the reality they face. Well, then I presume that you oppose cultures where men force women to hide their hair and faces 24/7, right? Isn't it wonderful that your daughter can choose to look sexy in a bikini if she wants to? Would you rather that she be forced to cover up or face punishment? Isn't it ironic that here in the West, women really do have the freedom to do almost anything they want, yet feminists claim that Western women are being oppressed by the patriarchy? But then when you look at a truly patriarchal, authoritarian culture like Saudi Arabia, where a woman can be beaten or maybe even executed for attempting to look sexy, and the feminists are strangely silent, or will even dote about how the hijab is actually a sign of women's liberation. My daughter believes a photo of herself sitting on a jet ski in her bikini represents girl power. But it actually just looks like the media has poisoned that message entirely and used it to perpetuate the status quo. We want our girls to grow up brave, confident, and assertive. But they are drip-fed, gender-conforming, sexualized images to the point where they think it's perfectly normal to strive to meet the male-defined expectations of them. The more performative and sexy, the better. What is the point of these images? The question answers itself, and I find the porny subtext deeply disturbing. What's the point? Well, the point is that men are attracted to women, and women typically like it when men are attracted to them. Now, I'm not saying that means a woman ought to walk around dressed in a thong 24/7, but it does mean that women are naturally inclined to do things that will garner male attention, and no amount of social engineering can change that. Men and women alike like it when they fulfill their respective gender roles. That's why movies that feature traditional gender roles continue to break the box office, while these female empowerment pieces completely crash and burn. Girls like my daughter can afford to be ambivalent about feminism. They live in a society that is relatively safe for girls, especially if they are privileged and white. As far as she is concerned, my pontificating about the need to fight gender stereotypes is just an old-fashioned demand to cover up her body, also known as slut-shaming. What is a mother to do? And there you have it. If she struts her stuff, she's reinforcing patriarchal gender norms and the patriarchy has prevailed. If she covers up, she's being slut-shamed and reinforcing the idea that women can't behave how they'd like. And the patriarchy has yet again prevailed. The feminist narrative has been constructed such that no matter how this woman and her daughter fight, no matter who ultimately prevails, no matter how happy or unhappy either party might be, the conclusion is that the patriarchy has a hold on society and we need more feminist policies enforced by government. It's totally unfalsifiable. Ever since I first held her in my arms, all I wanted was for her to be happy and safe. This thing called feminism is a complicated gift. One day when she's out of the house and I can't hold her daily, I hope she will unwrap this complicated gift and find what she needs inside. The tools to navigate an even more complicated world while staying true to herself. Look, here's how it is. Your daughter is free to make her own decisions, but those decisions have consequences, and good or bad, she'll have to live with them. Nothing you as her mother or your precious government ever do will change the inherent realities about men and women and personal responsibility. The daughter then picks up with her response. When my mother confronted me with the pictures on my Instagram, I thought, what's the issue? It's not that big a deal. I told her that everyone posts photos like this. Also, it's not like this is anything new to our society. For example, Barbie is a hypersexualized children's toy that is given to girls as a sort of role model. Yes, she now comes in more shapes and colors, but we still think of her as having a perfect body and perfect blonde hair. Yeah, and the reason for that is that both men and women know that certain behaviors and physical features are desirable and others aren't. Exercise, healthy eating, and other healthy behaviors lead to a certain type of physique, and therefore, no matter how much propaganda you shove down children's throats, they'll always recognize that certain body images are more desirable than other ones. My mother thinks I'm too young to be putting this sort of image online, but I am not ashamed of it. What I, as a young woman of 15, post on social media doesn't define me. It is not the whole of who I am. Well, actually, that's not entirely true either. People will make judgments about you based on how you behave, and that includes what you post on social media. And just because you're 15 doesn't mean that what you post can't come back to haunt you when you're 25. It's clear that this girl has indeed been indoctrinated in the feminist mantra that she can do whatever she likes and never face any consequences, but that's just not true. That doesn't mean I'm saying she shouldn't be posting bikini photos. That's between her and her mother, as her authority figure right now. But she does need to realize that if doing so has undesirable consequences, she'll have no one to blame but herself. Am I a feminist? I don't know. The fact is that feminism today is much too difficult to define because everybody has a different perspective on what it means. And that's because, as I've already laid out, it's based on an impossible premise. No one, man or woman, can have everything they want all the time, be happy all the time, and have everyone else respond favorably to their decisions all the time. It just doesn't work that way. Of course I believe in equality, but you are putting all the burden on me to police my self-expression in the interest of feminism, something I don't completely understand and can't get a real definition of. Would a boy sitting on a jet ski be punished for looking too sexy? Anyway, statistics show that my personal safety doesn't depend on what I wear. I also think that people are much too quick to judge a girl based on how she looks. You can judge me if you want to. I really don't care. My posts are for me and my friends. They are meant to be funny and ironic. It's not that deep. It's not political. Instagram is just for fun. I'm still young, and I am allowed to make a few mistakes as I figure out who I want to be. Well, fine. But again, the decisions you make will have consequences, and they could be far-reaching consequences. The question is, are you willing to live with those consequences, and will you take personal responsibility for them? This article is just too rich. No matter what happens, no matter what this woman does or that woman does, there will always be a way for other women to be unhappy and attribute that unhappiness to the oppression of the patriarchy. That's why the people at the top who claim to be feminists really couldn't care less about women. They want women to be unhappy so that they will support increasing the size of the state and willingly give up more and more of their freedoms so that the state can allegedly use it to fight their patriarchal oppressors. A society that values individual freedom and personal responsibility will embrace traditional conservative values, and everyone will then be free to seek their own happiness as they see fit. But if you keep growing the power of the state, the feminists will be left with a truly oppressive regime, not unlike the Saudi Arabian one that I described. And that is my 2 cents. Take it for what it's worth. Everyone, please take a moment to subscribe to my 2 cents on the BitTubers and BitChute platforms. YouTube has shown that it is no longer a viable platform for independent content creators, and we need to build a presence elsewhere before the inevitable censorship comes. The links to both profiles are available in the BitTubers tab on my website, my2centsvideos.com. Thanks everyone for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, as well as hit the bell to receive notifications so that you never miss an upload. And if you're a fan of my channel, please consider supporting me on Subscribestar, Bitbacker, or Patreon to receive special rewards. All links can be found in the About section of my website, my2centsvideos.com.